what is a step-by-step procedure, or how can we go ahead with the SIMP process, how do we proceed with the whole student stream. Whoever didn't know about it, there's a tracker. I didn't know there was a tracker, and I was like, what is this thing? Where are you guys getting all this information from? Then he told me there are several groups on Facebook and there are several groups on WhatsApp you can join. Whoever is in the same batch, they will keep getting updates, and you can get more information. And I was like, wow, what a nice facility. Hello everyone, welcome to Miles Vlogs. So this is the first video after the PR video that I'm actually shooting. You would have seen one travel video in between, but that was done last year. So I thought I'll do like maybe a video or two today, and then see what information I can pass. Many of you guys have asked me about uh, what is a step-by-step procedure, or how can we go ahead with the SIMP process, how do we proceed with the whole student stream, or things of that sort. It is quite windy, you can see, right? But then I didn't want to sit indoor and do it, so I've come to the library in East, and I'm just sitting outside and doing the video. So what I'm planning to do today is just have a very casual conversation with you. This is not going to be like a step by step process, but this will kind of give you an idea about why I planned on going for SINP or selecting Saskatchewan. And secondly, why did I actually get into a job with an SINP employer, and how was the process? What are the overall steps which are involved, and things like that. So this is going to be a separate series. Hopefully you will find like a playlist in my YouTube profile, wherein you will get all these video under one playlist. That's my intention. Let's see how that works. So like I told you, I will be making several videos about how to apply for SIMP. If possible, have a video on how the actual application process, what happens after that, what happens after you get nomination, and things of that sort, so that you have a detailed guide of the SIMP process. Okay, so uh, why did I choose Saskatchewan? I have told this in several of my other videos, but this is going to be a concise version. I'm going to finish this video hopefully in like 10 to 15 minutes. Let's see how it goes. I was around 37 when I decided to come to Canada, which is quite late for regular standards. But like I told in my first video, in my life, most of the things are quite late. So this was one thing that struck me and my husband's mind, wherein, okay, let's just migrate outside India, because we were kind of done with things there. We wanted to change and things like that. So we decided, okay, let's go to Canada, which was one of the easiest options at that point of time. We also explored, I think, New Zealand and Australia, but they were saying that people only with technical experience could get through those kind of PR options. So we thought, okay, we can try Canada, even though I didn't want to because of the weather. But then I'm like, okay, fine, let's just try it. So the first thing I did was to actually go ahead and open up the Express Entry profile, which was a blunder. I didn't do actually too much of research on what can be the other possibilities. So I signed up with an agent, even though it was a known agent. After signing up, I realized that they weren't actually giving us the right information. So they told, yeah, I mean, it's your CRS score is so good, which was just around 430 or 440, but they told us the score is so good, and you will get your Express Entry picked up very soon. Okay, so like fools, we believed what they told and started waiting for it. And then a couple of Express Entry draws that came up, we saw that the score is like in 480 and all those kind of things. So I'm like, why would they say something like that? Then after wasting the money is when we realized we have to do our own research. mm, so that's one reason I always tell my subscribers, please don't blindly believe what others are saying, do your own research, because I have burned my fingers by doing the wrong thing. So I would like you guys to do the right thing. So yeah, Uh, so after that, we started doing research and finally found out that okay, there's no way that we can get through express entry because of various reasons. Our age was more. I should be the primary applicant. Prashant was plus 40. Then there's so many other complications in it. So we decided, okay, fine, let's just drop the plan. Okay, so what happened is, okay, fine, and they also told us you can try for SINP. Maybe your NOC code is part of the SINP. You can get it through occupation in demand or international skilled workers stream and lot of things. So the problem is whoever is in India, they're kind of clueless or they're not given the right information. Only once you come here or you get the right information, did you know what is the ground reality, because it's very different from things that you hear from India. I think people are more informed now because of YouTube videos, or they're more exposed to information. But like 3 years back or 4 years back, when we were planning, we started our plan in 2018 and or 2019. So at that time, very few videos or very few YouTubers who were actually doing videos, especially on PNP or SINP to be specific. So we dropped the plan for some time, and then later on realized, okay, fine. I was thinking, okay, let me do some course back in India to upgrade myself and all. Then finally, I'm like, okay, let me just do the course in Canada. So I explored the option with my husband, and he's like, why do you want to waste money? Why do you want to go and study and those kind of things? So finally, we again did some research and realized that this was one pathway to come here, which is not the case anymore, I would say, or which is a very sad reality. There are loopholes, but there are ways you can get here on a study visa and then get it converted like PR, how we did. But it's a little tougher these days. Okay, so I would say that I will also tell you what you should do to actually get the PR where if you're coming here to Saskatchewan as a student. So we did apply for. What we did is we actually went to IDP, which is actually an education consultant back in. We were at Bangalore at that time, so we went to the education. It was a free education consult. I think others also like Santa Monica or other. There are many other education consultants who might be offering free of service. I mean, free of charge services, but I'm not sure. IDP for sure was free, and I should say that the consultant that I've got, I'm not mentioning her name here because she's no longer working there. So the consultant, she initially when she saw my profile, she told, "Oh, it's not possible. Like I cannot. Like the age is too much. You might not get a study visa." She didn't entertain us much. Then what she did was she took all our information and then she told, "Okay, let me just explore and give you a call back." And then I was so dejected that day when I walked out of IDP. But then I'm like, okay, let's see how it goes. And finally, she gave us a call and told us that there are few colleges who might accept your profile. So that one is Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and the other one can be University of Winnipeg. Wherein I actually wanted to try Sheridan and all, which I did get admission for, but my visa would have got rejected. So finally, cutting the story short, we applied for Saskatchewan Polytechnic, got the thing, but COVID came during that time, got delayed, deferred, blah blah blah, all those kind of things. Finally landed here. So the reason why I chose Saskatchewan, not that I had a lot of clarity at that point of time. Even I was kind of clueless at that time, but I thought, okay, fine. I don't mind struggling for 2 3 years if this is a sure shot guarantee that I will get PR, right? So we started doing a lot of research. My husband, he's like a research guru, like so you give him a task to research on something, he will sit and research about everything. So he even found how much a sausage cost in Walmart. Okay, so that detail he go. So he did all the research, and then we figured out, okay, fine, Saskatchewan might be the bet, and we were like checking all the place, blah blah blah. I was not too happy with it, but then we had no other option other than to come here. Mm, and then finally came here. I took my 1 year course in supply chain management. Um so my knock, based on my current job, was 12013. It has changed now because they have made it into a different system. So if you search 12013 on the IRCC website, you'll get the new knock code. So that's a knock code. I got my SINP profile through. So finally finished the 1 year course, and I was thinking of taking the second year course. But then a couple of my friends advised, okay, don't take the second year course. Try to find an SINP employer. I'm like, it's next to impossible to find an SINP employer. So I'm not even going that route. But at the same time, in my mind, on the other side, I was so damn sure that I don't have the money to actually fund for the second year course. So I took the risk of going and attending an interview, and gladly, because of my luck or because of how desperate they were to hire a person, they agreed on hiring me. I joined the company in 2022 May. Okay, no, June. So soon after my graduation, I joined them. I am still with them. So if you ask me about 10 minutes has gone just explaining the pre part of it. So after I got my SINP job, they will take some time to process things. Okay, so they are going to take their own sweet time to actually, I mean, advertise about this role, and then tell that this person is working for the role to SINP. Finally, get the job approved. Okay, so you should be very careful when you actually go for an SINP employer, because they should be able to sponsor or support your SINP process. So that's the most important point. Don't go and join people who promises you things, and then it doesn't work out. So do a little bit of background check with ex-employees, or whether they've got their PR, or whoever's referred you. Ask them, do you know anybody who got PR, and things like that. So finally, after you start working with them, they might take around almost 7-8 months to actually get your apply for your post for the job approval letter, because they at least need 6 months of pay stub, and they should also show that like you have completed 780 hours, I think. So this is mainly for people who are here on on study permit. So and this particular stream, there are still couple of streams that you can apply on for students. For those who are from outside Canada and who's trying to come on an SINP, it will be in occupation in demand. It can be international skilled. It can be technology stream. It can be agricultural stream. It can be business stream. So there are several other streams. It's not student, okay. But whoever comes on a student visa, there are a couple of options you can take up. The first one is student stream, but the only catch there is that your course should be related to the job you're doing, or else I think you should be in a supervisory role or things like that. So in my case, since I did supply chain management and I was hired as a logistics transportation coordinator, it was easy to link it up. Till last early this year, it was easier for other people also, because there was a stream called as hard to fill category, which they're saying they might open up in spring, but I'm still not sure. So in this hard to fill category, your study needn't be related to your work, right? So in that case, it was much easier for people to get the PR, and it was much easier for employers to fool around, because what used to happen is they used to promise, okay, we are going to give you PR under hard to fill category. We were trying to sell the job, and so many frauds were happening under that. And after SINP investigated that, they realized that people whoever is getting the PR through that are not even staying in Saskatchewan, and the whole intention of Saskatchewan government to sponsor or nominate you is so that you stay. Okay, so now I think the only two options or three options that might be there. The first one is going to be the student stream. The next thing can be, I think, international. No, international. The students, workers with workers with experience in Canada or Saskatchewan or something of that sort. I'll put the detail here. So in that one, you can actually apply for jobs that are not related to your study also. That is a plus point in that. The second one is this. The third option is for people like truck drivers, or people who can try getting an LMIA, which is see, there's a lot of difference between job approval letter and LMIA. Please don't get confused. I will be doing an exclusive video just on this, so I'm not explaining further. So third option is that you get an LMIA and then you convert it and things like that. So in my case, the employer applied after 6 months. Then I got the job approval letter. So I got my job approval letter in 2023 July. Yeah, July. So it took me almost a year to actually get my job approval letter, because obviously the employer has to apply. There were some delays in that, and then finally the SINP people have to approve it. So in case your work permit is getting expired, you can always request your employer to actually send an email to SINP saying that, this worker has been working here, I've already applied for the SINP letter, can you please approve it at the earliest, because this person's work permit, I've seen cases wherein it gets approved soon. So once you get the job approval letter, you're going to actually create a SINP profile. Okay, you might have had I had a SINP occupation in demand profile, but in this case you will create a student's profile. Or if it's not a student's profile, if you're going on a that workers with experience class stream, then you will create it under that. So you will answer a few questions, then they will tell you which stream you can apply. So when you put you have studied in Saskatchewan or Canada, and then your job is related to this, and you have so many experience, they will tell you this is a field that you need to apply. And this particular PNP student stream or the other stream will come under non-express entry. It is not express entry. It is non-express entry. Even I was confused. I was like, what the hell? I've not even heard about this. So it is not like the regular express entry. And today I even heard a news where they told that you don't need IELTS anymore for non-express entry PNP profiles. So you need to I need to do a little more research on that. I'm not too sure because I just saw the news today. So you will apply under a non-express entry student's profile, and then it is a tedious process. I don't know how I can make a video on that because I have already completed my applications, but I will try to create like a dummy profile and show you how to apply. It's a little complicated. A lot of people I know, actually majority, 90% of the people I know have gone with an agent who is expensive. But in case you feel that you cannot afford it, you can try doing it. If you find some good videos, go ahead with it. I will try doing the video. I'm not promising because it's a little complicated to create the profile and do it. So once that is done, once you update everything, you give all the right information, right document, everything, SINP is quite quick in approving it. Okay, so they will take around 1 week to just approve and give you the nomination letter. But I've heard in cases wherein people who are applying for occupation in demand or people who are applying from back in India, it takes a long time. But in my case, it just took around a week, since this is going to be like a student stream that we applied in. So what happens in that is they will give you the nomination. Then you need to actually create a non-express entry profile in the PR portal. Okay, I think I've already done this part of the video in a previous video, but from here it will be a new information for all of you. So once you create a non-express entry PR profile on the PR portal, which is a totally different portal, it's nothing related to your GC key or any other keys. Okay, so once you apply it on a PR portal, what will happen is you will actually submit the same documents you applied, put it for the Saskatchewan nominee program. It's just that they might ask for some additional information like your PCC, or they might ask you for some other like birth certificate. I think all of it is similar, just few things. And then in the SINP portal, you actually fill forms and then upload. But in the PR portal, you fill everything online except for maybe 1 or 2 forms. Okay. So after you do that, you take a photo, you upload that, you give your PCC, you give all your documentation, you fill up everything. You pay around 3,000 something dollars as an application fee. So this is the most expensive application fee you might pay. I don't know about citizenship, but PR, if at all you are planning to apply, make sure you have at least $3,000 for 2 people in your account. 3,000 something. Okay, I'm not sure of the exact amount. I'll try to check my credit card statement and then find out how much the exact, but it was around 3,000. You'll have to pay for this application and submit your profile. Okay, so then it's going to be a wait game. So I submitted my profile on August 7th, 2023. Okay, which was last year. So July I got it. July 10th I got my job approval letter. By July mid, I think I applied for SINP. By July end, I got my SINP nomination. By August 7th, I applied for my PR, federal non-express entry profile. So once that is done, you need to just forget about it and wait. For me, in that case, I was not at all stressed. I was thinking, okay, fine, let it come when it comes, because I actually didn't know the process, or I was not having enough information, or I don't know whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes I feel no, having less information is good, okay, because from the time I started getting information about what happens behind the scene of this non-express entry, or the federal portal, is when I started getting really freaked out, okay. So what happened is, by December 7th, I got my AOR. Okay, that basically AOR is nothing but acceptance of acknowledgement of receipt of your application. So that is when IRCC officers, or your visa officers, so-called visa officers, will open up your file, check all the details, and they will either tell you that you need additional documents, or else they'll just say, this is the AOR, acceptance of receipt, or they might even reject. I've seen all three, not personally. In my case, the AOR came through. Then within like couple of minutes, or I got two emails. One was for Prashant, one was for me. They told they need additional documents. So I freaked out because I thought I gave all documents. So they told that in Prashant's case and my case, there's like 1 month gap between the work experience. So if in case I joined one company in April and then I resigned in May, the other company I joined maybe by July, that month, June month gap was there. So they told you cannot have any gaps. You should show all of them. So if there's a 1 month gap, you should show as unemployed, which we didn't know, right? Because I didn't hire an agent. Even people who hired an agent have made the same mistake. So due to that reason, they told they need additional documents. We have to fill up the form again and then submit that particular application again. Application in the sense, just that one schedule A, I think. Also, yeah, so those are the information that I asked. I would also highly request you guys to pay the biometric fee way before, I mean, as when you're applying, pay your biometric fee. Don't wait to pay it after your AOR, because then the whole thing is delayed. I feel that my major delay happened because my biometric request letter didn't come in, and once I got my request letter, there was a delay there also. So if at all you're in that stage of application, you have still not paid your fees and you're still waiting, I would highly suggest you pay your biometric fee upfront and then get done with it. Okay, because I didn't know I have to pay it upfront, and somebody told me that your biometric is not required and they will ask you if it is required. So I didn't do that. Also, if you have your medical, which you did like till October 24th, you can do this. Of October 2024, you can do this, where you can upload your old medical acknowledgement, and they might excuse you from not taking the medical again. Really sorry about the noise. Um, yeah. So
And the only thing is if you rip out that left side or the west side from there, would you rip out the east side?
yeah. Okay, so yeah, so what happens is, so they will actually, you can show your acknowledgement, and also you can pay up your biometric fee beforehand, because they might not ask you for your medical in that case, and they will send you the biometric request letter as soon as they send your AOR. Okay, so within like the next day or something, people have received their biometric request letter. But in my case, I did not pay the biometric fee, due to which I had to wait for it. And unless you get the request letter, like how it happened in your student visa and all, you will not get you cannot do the biometrics. Okay, so after the AOR, they asked for additional documents. Then this happened on December 7th, and by 8th or so, I think they asked for the um, additional documents, and by around 19th they send a request out on my name asking for my medical. Okay, I was so damn tense, guys. I can't tell you how tensed I was. because everybody I knew who was applying with me,
Yeah,
like my
yeah,
batchmates and all,
I went
none of them had to give medicals. And when they asked for my medicals, I actually started freaking out and I started over analyzing things. I was like, okay, maybe, they know that I'm overweight or something. And that's the reason they're asking me for my medical. What if I have some issue? What are they going to
Well, I
check?
agree.
Actually, I don't know why I was getting tense. I think it was just that, all people around me gave me so much of information about it, saying that they might not ask for medical. In your case, they asked not. So I was like, okay, whatever it is, just F it, let's just go and give the medical. So I booked the medical for myself. So in Regina, there is only one outlet where you can actually book the medical. In Saskatoon, I think there are one or two. But in my case, I actually booked the one in Regina. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the place, so I booked it there. And I also took an upfront medical for Prashant because when I called the doctor, they told me maybe later on they might ask for your husband also. It was actually a waste of money. I shouldn't have, but then I didn't want to risk it and delay the process again, so I took an upfront medical for him also. And then I applied for the
Either asphalt that piece in and then leave the rest of the sidewalk or whatever.
yeah. So and then I applied for the I uploaded his medical also. I mean, I didn't upload. Obviously, the doctor from their office they'll upload the medical, and it got done. Okay. So all this happened. I think I got my medical appointment by January 3rd or 4th. So from 19th of December, I just had to wait until January 4th because it was Christmas, it was New Year. There were no slots for medical. They were closed for some days. So I just had to wait. I wasted around 10-15 days just like that. So by January 4th, I gave my medical, and they told within 7 days, if we don't call you, that means there are no issues. Okay, so those 7 days, me and Prashant, we were like, what the hell? What is happening? What is happening? Will there be any issues? Are they going to like scrutinize our health and things like that? Frankly speaking, we both don't have any health issues. It's just that when they ask for your medical, you get tense, right? That's what happened. So finally, we gave the medical got updated. That's around then is when I was getting all this stress. I was talking to one of my friend and he told me, did you check the tracker if the medical is updated? So I'm like, what tracker? Like, I am not even aware of a tracker. What tracker are you talking about? Then he told there's a application tracker where you can track the process, your overall timeline and process and everything, because it's only after your AOR that you can actually link your application on the tracker as well as your GC key. So you have to link both so that whenever there's an update, you will get it on your tracker. Tracker, you can't upload any document or anything like your GC key, but it basically whatever happens will get updated on the tracker. I will try to leave the link below. Whoever didn't know about it, there's a tracker. I didn't know there was a tracker, and I was like, what is this thing? Where are you guys getting all this information from? Then he told me there are several groups on Facebook and there are several groups on WhatsApp you can join. Whoever is in the same batch, they will keep getting updates, and you can get more information. And I was like, wow, what a nice facility. Let me just go ahead and join the WhatsApp group. That was the end of the day that I lost my peace of mind. Because until then I was in ignorance, or like when they say that ignorance is bliss, it's actually bliss because you don't know anything, so you're not worried about anything. But in this case, what happened is I logged on to the tracker and I realized that Prashant's medical is updated. Then I came to know about certain other updates. Okay, my medical is under process and those kind of things. Like it'll be just like a timeline. Okay, and then what stage your application, whether your eligibility is passed, so that I'll come to. Okay, it's already like mm, I think 28 minutes. I think I'm going to cut it here and start with the next video. So guys, if you like this video until here, please like, share and subscribe and please wait for the next video because I don't want it to be a long video. And I would also suggest to watch my videos in 1.5 speed so that you can see it faster and then you can watch the entire video. So guys, I'll see you in part 2 of this video. Okay, bye bye.